Hey everybody, it's Sharmel. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. So today I am back with a hair tutorial for these braids that I just finished installing. However, I did decide to switch things up a little bit this time. I have so many braiding tutorials on my channel, so many braiding videos in general, and honestly I didn't do anything that much differently than any other time I braid my hair. Also, y'all, I've been a little MIA this year. So instead of doing a regular old braiding tutorial, I decided to do a chatty video instead, just so that we can catch up, we can talk. I feel like I don't be talking to y'all no more. So yeah, if you want to catch up and chat a little bit, then just keep watching.
The sun shines on all of my glory. My flaws don't look so bad at all. What was I so afraid of?
So for this install today, I am cleaning out the hairband. I had a bunch of leftover bulk hair from different installs over this past year, and I wanted curly boho braids, so it worked out perfectly. This is the braiding hair that I'm going to be using. I did purchase braiding hair. This is the product that I'm going to be using for my braids and my parts, and then I went ahead and pre-sectioned my hair to make my braiding process a little easier, and we're ready to get started.
So another reason I really didn't want to do a tutorial is because I'm kind of struggling. I don't want to say completely struggling, but I ain't done no braids for real in a couple years. I think the last time I did box braids on my head was in 2023. The last time I had combed my locks out, and I haven't done any since then. Well, technically, y'all, I did do some braids this summer, and I did all human hair braids, but I used kinky curly bulk hair. With the kinky curly braids, I wasn't, because it was more of a natural texture style, I wasn't really tripping on getting the hair or my parts and stuff like that super neat and clean. But with my box braids, I do want them to be, a little sleeker. Originally, I asked my cousin to braid my hair. Basically, it just didn't pan out, so I was like, I guess I gotta braid it myself. I hate filming with my glasses because the lights and the glare, but I gotta be able to see what I'm doing. But first things first, y'all, where have I been? What's been going on? Honestly, nothing too crazy. I feel like in general 2025 has kind of been a rest year for me. Rest year, kind of regrouping. Y'all, I felt like I needed a break. I've talked about this before, when it comes to my channel, when it comes to me doing content and stuff. I have been doing content for a long time. Started this channel when I was 20 years old. I just turned 35 last month, so I have been doing this for a long time, and I feel like that year and a half where initially, in general, this channel has always just kind of been for fun, been for a hobby, always had other things going on in the background. But that year and a half where I was able to do it full time, I wouldn't say it burnt me out per se, but anytime you monetize a hobby, and anytime a hobby becomes just your main source of income, it's a job. And I feel like that year and a half as a full-time content creator, it just really turned it into a job. I felt like I started to create content out of survival, essentially. Not that I wasn't enjoying it at the time, but it was just different. I feel like naturally as a creative, you'll go through periods where you don't feel as creative, but if this is your main source of income, it's you don't really even have the space to kind of not be creative because your income is dependent on it. And then factor in also too, when you are your content. So obviously a big part of my content is beauty, but even beyond beauty, sometimes I don't be feeling like doing a bunch of different styles. Sometimes I want to repeat certain styles. I don't want to have to do a video every time I do the same style and things like that, and it becomes just kind of redundant. I vlog here and there, but then too hesitant on what I want to share, what I don't want to share. And yeah, y'all, I say all that to say, yeah, I just kind of needed a break, honestly, from the content. I've been posting here and there, but I know I've definitely slowing down in 2025. Another big part of me slowing down, as y'all know, I went back to work last year. So next week will actually make a year that I've been on my job. So I started working like in spring of 2024, but I was working a part-time job, and then in fall of 2024 I finally was able to secure a full-time job. And so now I have been on that job for almost a year now. I feel like this year flew by so fast. For the most part, I'm still enjoying my job. I mean, it's work, you know, work is always gonna be work, but as far as like being my role, the company that I'm with, all of that good stuff, I have no complaints, honestly, other than it takes up a lot of your time and your energy. And I just feel like that's with any like traditional job. That's another reason why I feel like I haven't been posting as often, because y'all, I just be tired. I be working. If I had to choose one thing that has been hard for me with my job, or transitioning back to you know, 9-to-5 work, is that I don't have a hybrid position, and that's been the hardest part, honestly. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie, some of my parts is a little iffy. I haven't really looked at the back because I'm scared, but I'm just powering through, because I know if I start looking too hard, I'm gonna find something wrong with it, and then I'm gonna keep going back and trying to finish it, trying to perfect it, and I'm tired at this point, y'all. I'm just trying to get through. I'm trying to finish and get through it. But yeah, back to work. I feel like most companies since the pandemic, they've adopted, you know, more hybrid style work, but girl, not my job. Well, I knew from the beginning when I took the role that it was full-time in the office, 5 days a week. I think for the most part I've adjusted. On the weekends or when I do have time off, like I just feel like I'm always trying to get caught up on something around the house, or you know, just trying to relax or just enjoy my time at home, since I be at work all the time during the week. So yeah, y'all, that's just like the one sucky thing I guess I could say about returning back to work. But y'all, one thing that has made it better is in the summertime I was able to shift my hours, so now I'm going in at like 7, which works for me because I'm naturally what the heck, hold on y'all, I'm messing up talking. For me that works because I am naturally a morning person, so getting up early and knocking out my work day is fine with me. And then, you know, I'm home pretty early in the afternoon, so like if I did need to run an errand, or you know, I just feel like I have a little more time to decompress at home before like having to get in bed and start the day all over again. So that has made it a little easier, but I mean, it is what it is. But in general, 2025 has been a very interesting year. I wouldn't classify it as a bad year. I tried to do my best to speak against that language, but yeah, it's just been an interesting year. I think for everyone, we see it like in our government, the politics, just the whole state of the world right now has been, it's been a lot. Kind of had like high hopes for this year, and January came and was doing some strange things. I had just been on my job for a couple of months. I was feeling good about my job and things like that, but then just adjustments. I feel like everybody in my life has been kind of going through it this year, and just adjusting to all of that has been a lot. So another reason why I've kind of been MIA, because I'm just adjusting and trying to deal with the most. I haven't been on a trip. Well, no, I take that back. Technically I did go out of town, but it wasn't like a fun trip. My cousin had passed, so I had to go out of town for that service. Like, yeah, the year just 2025, it's been interesting, but I'm trying to end the year on a positive note, so I don't want to like drag it on too much talking about all the bad stuff that happened this year, because although it's been some craziness that has happened, like, I don't know, I be like, am I depressed? Is this functional depression? Because over the last 5 years, I have definitely learned to just kind of roll with the punches. And like I said, I just had a birthday last month, and I'm like, this is the oldest I've been and the most unserious I've been in my entire life. Like, I feel like the older I get, the less serious I become, and I just feel like life in the world is already too serious. So like, why should I take on any more extra seriousness if I don't have to? So yeah, that's kind of been my theme since I turned 35. It's like, this is the oldest I've been, but the most unserious I've been at the same time. But yeah, in addition to this being like kind of a year of rest, I feel like another word to describe this year has been just kind of evolving. Naturally, I'm getting older. So, you know, you just start to see your desires and your likes, dislikes, all those things start to just change. And not that I think I'm old, y'all, but like, yeah, I can definitely see that I am getting older. I feel like I spent a big portion of my life up until this last year just kind of like always chasing something, right? Whether I was chasing success, chasing love, just chasing a better life. I just felt like I spent so much of my life on the run, trying to always do something, always accomplish something. And like I was just saying, like, I haven't really traveled this year. I really have just been, you know, in a I don't want to call it redundant. I don't want to use that word, because I feel like when I had my quarter life crisis, one of the things I used to say is that I felt like I was living the same day over and over again. And it's not that I'm, you know, there's a lot of redundancy in my life right now, especially going back to work. But I can say that, I don't know, I kind of learned to just sit in it. And it's not in a sense that I'm like no longer chasing, or I no longer desire certain things or better things in my life, but I feel like I've also learned to kind of just, what's the cliche, stop and smell the flowers, right? I don't know, I just had a lot of perspective shifts this year. I can recognize that in those years that I was spending just always chasing something, I never really valued my life for what it was in that moment. And that's something that I try to do more of now, because I mean, we only getting older, and I don't want to wake up one day and be like, man, I spent most of my life. And I do that sometimes now. Like, I think about times like when I just used to be so unhappy, and it's not that my problems weren't real at that time. Like, the problems were real, but there were also still good things. But I was so focused on the problems that I didn't enjoy the good things about my life, or I was always just speaking so negatively about my life that I couldn't find or appreciate those good things. And so yeah, like I said, this year I've just completely slowed down compared to like the last 2 to 3 years. And so since I've slowed down, like I said, it's also been like an evolution that's been happening, and I've just been kind of enjoying this downtime and this quiet time. Whereas in past years, when I would have slow years, I would be unhappy about the slowness. So I've learned to just kind of find like contentment and joy in the slow times, as well as, you know, when things are moving along. And it's the right piece, yeah. So, you know, when life is a little more fast paced, or, you know, I'm doing a little more. And so speaking of evolving, let's talk about the locks, because it's been what, it's been about 7 or 8 months since I cut off my locks. But yeah, it's a lot of people who don't even realize like I cut my locks. Every now and then I'll get a comment and somebody will be like, wait, what happened to the locks? I don't know, part of it is probably due to the algorithms, as well as me just not posting as much. Just a combination. But yeah, a lot of people either haven't realized that I cut off my locks, or I've seen a couple comments in real life and online of people asking me if I missed my locks. And y'all, honestly, the answer is no. And I think I told somebody, like, I don't actually. So I cut my locks off back in like the end of March, beginning of April. It was somewhere around that time. And like I said, the beginning of the year was really rough. I talked about it in another video when I was like really in the midst of it going through. I had a family member who was dealing with some health issues, and it was just beginning to take a really big toll on me emotionally, mentally, physically. And I was just having one of those moments where like I just really needed a fresh start. I just really needed something new. I needed something different. I needed to switch something up in my environment, or I was gonna lose it. And so I ended up cutting off my hair, and although it was a bit impulsive, I will say up until that point, I don't know, I want to say I was tired of my locks, but internally I just felt like it was coming to an end. And so ironically, in September it would have made 5 years that I had been on my lock journey. If y'all been here from the beginning, y'all know I started my locks in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. And I had my first set for 3 years, combed them out at the 3-year mark. I wore my loose hair for 6 months, and then 6 months later I ended up relocking my hair with lock extensions, and then I had the lock extensions for a little bit over a year, and then that brings us up until, like I said, March, April this year when I cut them off. And so I think because when I combed out my first set, that was also a bit sporadic. And I can say for sure when I did it that time, I don't think I was truly ready, which is why I ended up relocking my hair within 6 months. But this time when I did it, like, I don't know, I just knew, it just felt like it was coming to an end. And I don't have anything bad to say. It was not like anything was wrong with my hair. There was nothing wrong with my hair. It was just, I just feel like it was one of them things where it was, the tides was changing. Like I said, this year, at the time I didn't know it would be an evolution, but I just felt like that spirit of evolving coming on me, I guess you can say. I didn't realize what it was at the time, but I felt like in hindsight that's kind of what it was. And yeah, y'all, I cut them off. I'm sure there's like if I were to like really dissect it, I'm sure there's a lot of other things, like maybe subconsciously, that kind of contributed to me wanting to comb out my locks or cut them off. Similar to like how I said before, how, you know, doing content full time kind of burnt me out. I can definitely say, because the bulk of my content for the last couple of years has been locks, it's just you just kind of feel oversaturated with it in a way. Maybe that's why. I can't say for sure. If I wasn't doing content, I don't know, maybe I would have had them longer, but knowing me, I probably would have still cut them off and kept it pushing. I don't know. I really don't know, but I don't miss it. I really enjoyed that time and that period of my life. My locks taught me a lot about myself. Yeah, I didn't have a bad experience. Like I said, it was just one of them things where I felt like it was time to move on to something new. And I've been enjoying being back to loose hair. I mean, everything, I feel like, because a lot of times when you cut out your locks, people are like, oh, I know you tired of this, and I know you tired of that when it comes to like your loose hair. But I just feel like, in general, I'm gonna do my hair regardless. I've said this several times. Whether I have locks, loose hair, if I'm bald, I'll still probably find a way to do my hair. Like, that's just what I do. I enjoy the craft. But yeah, being back to my loose hair hasn't been like a bad experience or like so inconvenient. Like, it's just been my hair. I feel like everything has its pros and its cons. I've been really enjoying trying different hairstyles that I haven't been able to try over the last 4 to 5 years, so that's been fun. Just kind of rediscovering my hair. I've just gone through so many phases with my hair over my life. I done been relaxed, I done been natural, I didn't cut it off, I didn't have shaved sides, I didn't have locks, I done had every probably hairstyle under the sun. I feel like in general my hair is also a part of my evolution. I still haven't really made any decisions on like what I'm doing with my hair, what I want to do with my hair. I'm not on any kind of like hair growth journeys. I'm not really interested in trying to like grow waist length hair. You know, I still try to take care of my hair. But yeah, I really don't have no plans. I'm just keeping it clean and doing, you know, if I feel like doing the style, I'm doing that. Initially when I first cut off my locks, I had wanted to get a bob. I really wanted to get my hair cut in like a short, cute little bob. I was teetering with the idea of getting a relaxer. Some people I think mentioned trying a keratin treatment. As y'all can see, that never happened. In September though, I did end up cutting my hair into a bob myself, and I think I did pretty good. But y'all, I wore it that weekend, and that wind that weekend was tearing me and my little bob up. It was just like reverting so quickly, and then with work and stuff like that, it didn't work out. Technically my hair is still cut into a bob, but I haven't really worn it in the bob style just because I don't know, I want to get it professionally done. So like, I think if I'm still not like completely, the bob idea is not completely out the window, but I do know like if and when I do that, I want to be able to go to the shop at least bare minimum once a month to get my hair just treated and taken care of in that state. And I know, I don't say I know, but I ain't been able to do that yet. So my usual stylist who I go to like whenever I want to silk press, or like the last time I combed down my locks and I just wanted to get a good trim and all that good stuff, my usual stylist, she's been doing my hair off and on for years. I didn't go to high school with her, but we were like in a college prep program in high school together, and that's how I met her. And she's literally been doing hair since we've been in high school. However, y'all, she don't work on weekends no more. And that just kind of blew me a little bit. And I'm not mad at her. She's been doing hair for a long time, and she does a lot. I remember at one point she was braiding too. She's licensed, so like she's a real cosmetologist, and so I respect her craft. So I get it, you've been doing hair for all these years, and at some point, you know, you want to make life more easier and more convenient for you and your lifestyle. So like, I ain't mad at her, but it's like she would stop working on weekends as soon as I go back to working full time. So I just feel like figuring out my schedule to schedule an appointment with her hasn't really worked. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to take off once a month specifically just to get my hair done. So that's one of the reasons I haven't really gone for like my bob that I really want. And obviously I know y'all saying find another stylist, which is obviously I could do, but I don't know. I was looking for a stylist at one point, but you know how you just get comfortable with somebody, and because I know how to do my hair, I just don't be liking any and everybody in my head. And I just haven't found anybody who I've been like, oh yeah, I really want to go to her. Like, I found some cool potential options, but I don't know, I just feel like it needs to feel right when I choose somebody, and nobody I found has really given me that feeling where it's like, okay, I want to commit to this person to try them out. So, and then y'all, a couple months ago I grew 2 gray baby hairs. Y'all can see them right now. Oh my god, I grew 2 gray baby hairs, and I'm like, oh my god, if I'm starting to gray, I don't think I can ever go back to dark hair. I'm gonna always have to have my hair in some color to camouflage these grays, because what is that about? And all my friends have you know, they grays been popping up for the last couple years, and I was holding on like I ain't got none, y'all, and they done snuck up on me. So I also wanted to talk to y'all about an experience that I just had, and I need to know if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, or am I tripping? A lot of y'all started following me during my lock era, but prior to doing locks, y'all, I was doing all kind of hair tutorials, beauty content. I've been doing hair reviews for well over 10 years at this point. If you've been in the beauty space, the hair reviewer space, then you know working with overseas hair companies, I'm trying to make this as politically correct as possible, it can be a lot. And over the last 5 years, I have definitely slowed down on like my hair review videos. A big part of it was my locks, but even then, like well into the first year of me having locks, I was still doing hair reviews. But I did eventually stop doing hair reviews because I just really wanted to focus on like getting used to my locks, nurturing my locks, all that good stuff. But I've been doing hair reviews for a long time. So recently if y'all notice, I don't do a lot of hair reviews anymore. And then even the hair tutorials that I do, a lot of the times I just purchase the hair myself, because again, a lot of these overseas companies, their deliverables are always crazy. They never want to pay you, and it's just always a lot, and I'm just not that thirsty for free hair. So yeah, I'd rather just spend my money and purchase hair that I know that I want, know that I'm gonna use, and be able to style my hair in the way that I want to style it. So anyways, I say all that to say, y'all, I recently had like a really bad experience with, I don't want to say it was a really bad, but I recently had an experience with a hair company from the other side of the world. And this company, y'all, I'm not gonna say their name because I'm still a professional. I'm not gonna say their name, but I wanted to talk about it because first of all, they really tried to play me. So this company has literally been in my email since 2020 begging for a hair review. And the first red flag, that should have been the first red flag. And I've had communications with them here and there, but one of the reasons I never worked with them is because every time we would get to like the negotiating part, the money part, they will always try to lowball me. And for me, again, it just don't be worth no free hair. So I'll always just bow out gracefully. Again, this company has been in my inbox off and on for the last 5 years, but back in September, they reached out again. And I entertained it for a little bit. And so when it came to the negotiating part, we ended up being able to negotiate a number that I was okay with. It was still lower than what I wanted, but I agreed to it, right? They first emailed me back like early-ish September, but they didn't actually send the hair until like towards the end of October. And I wasn't tripping because I had my birthday, I had stuff going on, and I knew I wanted a specific style and color for my birthday. Initially, I did kind of want it soon because I wanted to kind of get the review out of the way and then I could just focus on my birthday. But since it didn't come before my birthday, I was just kind of like, whatever. I'm going to enjoy my birthday, do the style I want, and deal with the hair when they get it to me. So anyways, y'all, I get the hair like the end of October, film the content, install the hair, do the video, all that, submit the video for review, and y'all, they emailed me back with a screenshot of the video, and it's a close-up of my hair. They circled it and they basically like, oh, the hair is not blending good in this area. Now I can admit it wasn't the best blend, but I go on to explain to them like, oh, you know, I have heat damage in that area. And I said I mentioned it in the video because when I wore my sew-in, y'all, I was running that flat iron through my hair quite often. And so yeah, I was like, I have heat damage, so my curl pattern is looser, and you know, I have some straight pieces in that area, so it probably makes sense to mention what kind of hair it was. So they were like type 4 clip-ins, like a 4A 4B texture. When it's defined, it has, I don't even want to say it's a wet look, but it does have a more defined look. But when the hair dries, it definitely has more of like that afro texture. The hair was beautiful. I have no complaints about the hair quality itself, but since I had heat damage, obviously my hair wasn't going to blend the best. And for my blending method, I really just use gel to define my hair, because outside of the heat damage area, the texture of the clip-ins actually matched the natural texture of my hair pretty well. So I didn't feel like I needed some like extensive blending method. Additionally, y'all know when it comes to my hairstyles, I try to keep things easy, and I feel like clip-ins, especially if you're using like a kinkier texture of clip-ins, it's supposed to be easy. Like I wouldn't want to show y'all a product that's supposed to mimic your real hair, but then you have to do a bunch of work to make it blend with your real hair, if that makes sense, because then that kind of defeats the purpose of them being like natural looking clip-ins. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when I first seen that email with that picture of my leave out circle, you know, I immediately got annoyed, because I'm like, okay, I could just sense where everything was heading. But I still was trying to be optimistic and professional. So again, I respond to them, and I explain to them that I do have heat damage. I'm like, however, I can edit out some of like any close-up shots because I'm gonna insert some clips, but in like the wide range, in my opinion, it didn't look bad. And I sent it to other people as well, like, you know, is it me? Am I tripping? And they were like, yeah, I don't get it either. And so that was my way to help remedy the situation. But they responded and they were just kind of like, you can understand that blending is important. Making sure the hair blended is important. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that. So basically they asked for me to redo the install and blending portion, and then requested that I do a twist out or a braid out to blend it. And immediately I was just kind of like, no. For one, I personally just didn't feel like a twist out or braid out would alleviate the heat damage issue. Like, if my hair is heat damaged, then maybe a curl set would probably be the best course of action. But I don't know, I just felt like a twist out or a braid out would not make it blend better. And I even asked one of my best friends who's been natural for a long time, and she was like, yeah, I don't think that a twist out will help the situation either. Additionally, I was annoyed because the deliverables never mentioned having to use a specific blending technique to blend the hair. Now, if they put in the deliverables that you must use a braid out or a twist out when installing, then I just would have did that from the jump and we wouldn't have been in that situation. And again, going back to kind of what I was saying originally, why I stopped working with these companies a long time ago is because they can be very nitpicky. And so I pushed back against it. And then I also mentioned that refilming the install and the blending would require significant additional time, right? You know, just the general stuff that comes along with filming. On top of that, one of the deliverables was to wear makeup while you were filming, have your face done. So that means that in addition to setting everything up again, I would have had to redo my makeup. And mind you, this is days after I've already filmed the video. So it's not as simple as just like going back to touch it up. This was gonna require just like another full production and then going back and re-editing it. And then they continue to push back and they're like, well, we're not asking you to redo the entire video. We just want you to redo the install and the blending. And I'm like, what y'all not understanding that is the bulk of the video. So you technically you're not asking me to redo the full video, but the install and the blending is the bulk of the video. So it would still require additional time. And again, they were pushing for like this twist out, and I'm like, that was never in the deliverables. After going back and forth for a couple of days, neither one of us were kind of budging on our stance. So I'm like, okay, I'll redo it, but since technically I delivered all of my deliverables, I'm like, I'm gonna need a partial payment before I make any additional revisions. And they basically tell me no, and that I'll get the money once the video is approved. And immediately that pissed me off. And I feel like during this whole situation, I was really like more angry at myself than the company. Like, I was mad at the company, don't get me wrong, but it was one of them things where it's like I knew better, because I've already kind of had a semi experience with this company, with them constantly trying to lowball me. What was I really expecting in this situation? And so I was really just more kind of angry at myself that I was even kind of in this predicament to begin with. And typically too, which was another red flag, is that when I do work with overseas hair companies, I usually request a partial payment up front. Like, once I receive the hair, before I do any work, I negotiate a partial payment up front, because again, they can be very nitpicky, and you get in a situation where you didn't complete all this work and then they just find any reason to delay you getting your money. And so I did ask them for a partial payment. We were still doing the negotiations, and they were basically like, oh, since this is your first time collaborating with us, our policy is we don't do partial payments up front, basically. And I was just kind of like, when they told me that, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, honestly, the whole time when I first accepted the collaboration, I was just kind of like, whatever about it. Like, I hadn't been posting content. I'm like, okay, this will give me something to post about. And that's one of the reasons why I had like really accepted the offer. But it wasn't like something that I was just super excited about. The hair was pretty. I didn't have any issues with the hair, but just kind of like the styles that I kind of had planned for me and what I want this fall, I didn't have that hairstyle on my list for this fall. So it's like, whether I did the review or not, I didn't feel like I would necessarily be missing out on anything. But yeah, I was just more frustrated that I was even in the situation to begin with. So after going back and forth for a week, once I asked for that partial payment, I had made the decision that if they don't agree, that I was just going to walk away. And my cousin was like, you need to fight for your money. But just like the whole situation just started to feel like more than what the money was worth. And I don't like feeling like I'm being bullied. And that's kind of how I was feeling, like the company was trying to bully me into doing what they wanted to do. And my whole thing is that this is a reminder to creators, period. Like, when you work with these brands, if it's a collaboration and a partnership, that means that you also have a say-so in what you do. And I feel like sometimes a lot of companies will feel like basically they're in charge and that you have no say-so in the whole ordeal. And that's not true. We might agree to these terms, and if I deliver on everything that I was supposed to deliver on, you can't go back and try to change up things that were never agreed upon originally just because you may not like it 100%. Especially, again, if I delivered on all of my deliverables. And yeah, it was just feeling like more of a headache. They were hella like passive aggressive in the emails. Y'all know they love to hit you with like a hey love, and I hate that because that's very unprofessional to begin with, and it just feels very passive aggressive. Throughout our exchange, they kept telling me like, oh, we have your best interest in mind, and this is not just about us, it's mutually beneficial if you go back and do it with the twist out. Then they tried to say that I did a flip over when I was supposed to do a side part or a middle part. And I did go back and read the deliverables, and it did say, it says side part, middle part, worn all down. So I assume that flip over would fall into the category of wearing it all down, because they really didn't want me to do like any styling, even though at the end of the video I still included a couple styles, because that's just how I am. Like, y'all know, I feel like that's my area when it comes to hairstyling. Like, I want to show y'all how to get your money's worth, right? Wearing it down is cute and everything, but like, I love the creativity and being able to style your hair in general. When it comes to different styles, I don't typically wear my hair all down. I like a lot of styles that are kind of pulled back, that showcase my face. I think hair theory, when you understand hair theory, you understand like what styles work for you. And it's not that I look ugly with my hair all down, but I just feel like when my hair is pulled back off my face, it just kind of maximizes the entire look. Whether I have, again, braids, locks, loose hair, any of my videos, any of my hair tutorials, whenever my hair is kind of like pent up or pinned back off of my face, it always eats, because I know that that's one of my signature styles. They had also requested, it wasn't necessarily a part of the deliverables, but they did ask me if I could color the hair because they seen that my hair was colored. And this is before I went red. So this is back in September, where I was still kind of wearing the brown. I still had my skunk stripe, and they were saying, you know, they don't offer colored extensions. So they did ask me if I could color the hair. And honestly, I probably would have colored it anyways, because that was just the vibe that I was on. But yeah, once y'all start adding in additional requests, you know, I just found it strange that they were like super unwilling to also work with me. Usually that's one of the reasons why I do ask for partial payment up front, because now that y'all requested for me to color the hair, that means that I have to really go buy products to do it. Once I sent that final email requesting for partial payment before doing any revisions, they came back, they said no, you'll get paid when the video is approved. And at that moment I was like, well, it's time for me to bow out gracefully. So I sent them a very nice professional email letting them know like, hey, I feel like I'm going to have to withdraw from this collaboration. I feel like, you know, I've offered several compromises and you guys haven't been open to anything other than me doing exactly what you guys want to do. I technically delivered on all of my deliverables, so the fact that y'all even asking me to do anything additional is kind of crazy. And I told them like, I just feel like I don't feel respected or heard in all of this, and so that I would be withdrawing from this collaboration and not moving forward. And of course, once I sent that email, they responded and was like, oh, I'm gonna put in a request to my boss to send you $100 for a partial payment. First of all, I didn't even agree to at the $100 as the partial payment. I needed at least half of what we had agreed upon, because one of my things was like, what if I make the adjustments, I do the revisions, I do the twist out, but because I have heat damage, it's still not blending to y'all liking, and then y'all come back and complain again. So I just needed something with a little more security before I made any additional revisions. And so when they came back offering me that $100, like at that point I didn't even respond again, because like I told y'all, I'm good. And it's like a slap in the, y'all played in my face for a whole week just to eventually offer me something, and it just felt like y'all was just being, they were being so difficult. And I went back and watched the video because I'm like, am I tripping? And I will say, I won't say that it was like the best blending job ever, but the way that they were acting was a little excessive. You know, the money would have been nice, but it also wasn't no deal breaker. I ain't losing no sleep, I ain't missed no meals, I ain't missed no card payments, I ain't missed no bill payments off of not receiving the money. So, you know, I did feel like I kind of wasted some time. I'm definitely not going to post that video, but like my cousin was saying, well, at least maybe you should post it, but not mention the brand, not mention the company. I don't know, I haven't figured out what I was doing. I probably will definitely purpose like the short form content that I made for them, because I was also supposed to post on like Instagram and TikTok, like all of that. I said I'll probably repurpose some of that content. Definitely won't mention the brand, but at least get something out of it. I haven't decided yet, y'all, but I was so over them. But y'all, I think that's all the topics that I kind of had on my list to talk about. It is 7:25. I was hoping to be done by 9, but I don't know. But yeah, y'all, let me knock out this last little corner of my hair and I'll see y'all in a minute. All right, y'all, so here is how the braids turned out. I think they came out really good. I love the color. I have been loving this red color on me for this last month. I think I told y'all before, like, I want to do every style I could think of in this color while I have it. I think it's just perfect for the fall. I feel like it complements me really well. Typically, like the browns, the honey blonde, that's usually my thing, but I like the red too. The red gets it done as well, y'all. I was a little skeptical, a little nervous when I was braiding, just because I am using a bunch of different textures. The only hair that I purchased was the synthetic braiding hair because I needed more of that. But all of the curly human hair, y'all, that literally came from bits and pieces of leftover hair that I had. I wouldn't recommend using like leftover hair if you have like body wave and then like a kinky curly. For the most part, all of my scrap hair was in the curly family. Like some of it was a kinky curly, some of it was like a regular curly, some of it was like a Burmese curly. So they were all some forms of curly, which is why I think it worked out, since yeah, it's just naturally curly. The hair is extremely lightweight. Like it's very full, don't get me wrong, it's super full, it's a lot of hair, but it's not heavy at all. It's really comfortable to wear. Even when I finished last night and I had just put it up in a bun to sleep in, you know, sometimes you get fresh braids and that bun on top of your head, your neck just feels so heavy. I didn't have that feeling at all. Y'all don't even want to know how long it took me. I was up till midnight braiding. Like I said, I am a little rusty when it comes to braiding these days, so it did take me a long time. On top of it, it is super full, and it's also really long, but yeah, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for chatting with me. If y'all like these chatty style videos, let me know. I can definitely do more of it. Anything that you would like me to talk about, I could definitely do more of it. I don't really want to get into the commentary, but I do be having opinions on stuff every now and then. So yeah, definitely let me know. But that is going to be it. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social media platforms at Sharmel Lynnette, and I'll see you beautiful people in my next video. Bye.